record that. Boom, boom, boom. Get that set up. Did it work? Yep, we're about to go through California, Texas, and New Jersey gun laws, and then we're gonna work. We're gonna read some comments from other people on TikTok just to see what they are talking about too. Let's go ahead and open that up. Let's bring the volume down on this. What's up? We're about to go through. Let me bring this closer. What's up? We're about to go through different gun laws in Texas, New Jersey, and California. So we're going to go through a couple different states' gun laws first before we actually do it. Let's read some comments from some other videos that we did that I just haven't done. So we're going to go ahead and read them real quick. True, I moved out of New York. So this is about the New York gun laws. If you've ever gone to my page and looked at the New York gun laws, which I've gone over, made a little video. And these are just people talking about how crappy New York gun laws are. And honestly, New Jersey gun laws are pretty much about the same thing if we're going to keep it a buck, to be honest, because New Jersey is not a very fun state in terms of gun laws, nor is California. But we're going to go ahead and read them. I got to keep that one open too. Looking at some comments here. What's up to everybody? Go ahead and drop a follow. I am close to 10,000 followers and I need 10,000 so I can get the, you can't hear. Oh, yep. It says you cannot hear me. Testing. Let's see if it's working. There we go. Can we hear the sound now? Did the sound come on? TikTok sound is hopefully working now. Boom. We got it back. All right, TikTok sound is working. It looks like we're live everywhere else too. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to worry about the comments. We'll leave the comments for a little bit later. Let's hop right in to New Jersey. And if you're in the chats, in any of the chats, drop the state that you're in, and we're going to go through your gun laws right after we go through the regular ones. But yeah, drop your state or drop your questions to whatever gun laws that you want to know. Oh, looks like I'm already on New Jersey, so we'll go ahead and just start on the East Coast. Keep it sectional. All right. New Jersey is a shall issue state. I guarantee they changed after New York Bruin Supreme Court case in 2023 last year. Yeah, that was 2023 that happened. All right, so concealed weapon permits are issued on a local level by the department, the police department, New Jersey Police Department, first obtained. So for New Jersey, you got to go through a whole process. So you got to put in an application with the police department. Then you got to get approval from the local police chief. And some people have said that this is not the case in New Jersey. If you live in New Jersey, and I live in New Jersey, I got my FID and about to start concealed process. Tell me a little bit about your process in terms of what it's like in New Jersey. Like, do you have to go to the local police chief and then take it to a superior court judge and then wait on approval? Because that's how it's reading. But let's see if it's actually, yep, that is the case. Boom, New York City. Yeah, New York City gun laws suck, unfortunately. Sorry, bud, you should move states. Everybody from New York moves to Florida eventually. All right, so you need an FPID, and then they're going to run you through the NICS system. That's nothing, horrendous or egregious. Most states, like even in Florida, we run you through the NICS system whenever we do background checks. So that's pretty standard operating. Even for private sales, you got to run it through a licensed dealer or through a police department or some sort of law enforcement agency adjacent. So for private sales, got to do that. In Florida, in Texas, that's not a thing. Private sales, you just govern them on your own. Open carry is definitely prohibited in New Jersey. They do not allow that at all. So for New Jersey, it's a PCH. Is it a pistol carry? What does PCH stand for? Is it pistol carry handgun or permit carry handgun? Is that what PCH stands for? Police chief in town approves it. Okay, so yeah, you got to go through the local police department in order to get that actual license approved, which, and it is what it is, just depending on like what state that you're going through. We don't have to do that in Florida. We just go straight to the Department of Ag. A lot of other states, you just go straight to the Department of Ag. Let's talk about the use of force laws, because you kind of got some decent things happening in New Jersey when it comes to self-defense. New Jersey is a castle doctrine state, which is always good to have. That means you can have protection in your dwelling without having a lot of oversight, or at least not that many criteria that involves it. It's no duty to retreat there while in your dwelling. So while in your dwelling, you have no duty to retreat, but when outside of your dwelling, they do want you to make some attempts to try to avoid taking permit to carry handgun. Okay, yeah, I guess I could have figured that out, but PCH just sounded weird. Everywhere else does a different acronym. So thanks for that clarification, Cole. Big shout out to you for that one. Use of force is justified in New Jersey when the actor reason believes that it's necessary to prevent the attempt to commit theft, criminal mischief, or other criminal interference with the actor's personal property or the possession of another of whose protection he's at. That kind of reads weird. But you can use force if you're attempting to prevent theft, criminal mischief of just any time. So basic just things that you would typically use force against. I'm currently an NYC corrections officer. How do I go about obtaining a pistol license? We will hop over to New York and we'll talk about it. But I know it's like an 18-hour course that you have to go through at least. So we will get to what it takes to actually get that in New York. Going through Jersey, it's a little similar to Jersey, but it's not the exact same thing. Can you summarize that about the use of force? Yeah, I can do my best. Use of force justified when the actor reason believes that it's necessary to prevent or attempt to commit theft. So basic example is like, let's say you have a car, like you were in the grocery store, you see somebody that is breaking into your car. Now you're not allowed to pull your firearm out and hold them at gunpoint because that would be assault with a deadly weapon. But you could go hands-on with them, take them, push them out of your car, push them away from your property, and things of that nature. For example, if it's your home and somebody is interfering on your immediate property line, you could push them off of your property line. You could go hands-on if they are on your property. Obviously, just do not escalate it to the use of deadly force. But in that same breath, when you decide to go hands-on with them, if they start escalating to a point where you feel like your life is in danger and that they're going to cause death or great bodily harm to you, it does start to change a little bit. But let's go. They actually have an explanation of use of force and protection. So the actor would be justified in using such force to protect himself or herself against the injury he or she believes to be threatened to the person whom he or she seeks to protect. So this also involves third person as well as yourself. And the person to whom the actor seeks to protect would be justified in using such protection or force for themselves. So if you witness somebody essentially getting beat up and they will be justified in using force to protect themselves and you want to step in terms of third person, you could do that. If you saw someone being handled in a way that was rough or just looked like it was unlawful and not what's up God is vibe 5. If you saw somebody getting beat up or somebody was using force against a person that looked unjustified and looked like that person wasn't consenting and it wasn't, horse playing essentially, you could use force to protect that person. Use of force in defense of premise. The use of force is justified when the actor is in possession or control of premise or is licensed or privileged to be there, and the reason believes such force is necessary to prevent or terminate the commission or attempt commission of criminal trespass by such other persons in which upon such premise or such other person in or upon such premise. So again, when it comes to defense of like your property, again, if you feel like somebody's criminally trespassing, you don't have to just let them be on the property. It kind of like if we think about those First Amendment auditors type of people, they go on property, but they typically stay on public property. So like that sidewalk, that area, you couldn't put hands on at that point. But let's say they crossed over to the property line. Once they cross over to the private property line, you would be justified in essentially pushing them back until they are no longer on your property. And at that point, you got to go hands off because now you're on a public way and you no longer have the right of private property and the use of force in that situation. So if you use force on public property, it becomes a much different scenario. So you could push somebody off of your property line if you felt the need to and wanted to. Use of deadly force is not justified unless the actor reasonably believes that the person is attempting or disposing the actor of his or her dwelling. The person is attempting to disposes the actor of his or her dwelling. So somebody's trying to pull you out of your house essentially to fight. Like we've seen those videos, people go to fighting. Maybe they want to run in the house because they just think they're that much about it. If they try to actively pull you out of that house, well, that is not justified. So you could use, let me make sure I'm right, because you always got to read these things multiple times just to make sure the use of deadly force is not justified. Okay, unless. So that word unless, so if they are trying to actively pull you out of the house and you're inside of it, yeah, you could use deadly force in that situation to protect yourself because, again, New Jersey is a castle doctrine state. The person is attempting to commit or committing arson, burglary, robbery, or other criminal theft or property destruction, except that deadly force does not become justified under subparagraph A or B of this subsection unless the actor reasonably believes that the person against whom it is employed or has employed or threatened deadly force against or in the presence of the actor, or the use of force other than deadly force would expose the actor or others in his or her presence to substantial danger or bodily harm. So for that section, deadly force is not justified essentially if other people may be injured by it and if doing so may injure other people, which is why they say you have a no duty to retreat inside of the home, but outside of the home, they very much want you to try to retreat if possible, as long as you can do so in a safe manner. And if not, as long as you can articulate how life was in danger, essentially, and how a forcible felony was being done against you, robbery, aggravated assault, kidnapping, carjacking, or aggravated battery. If those are happening, you can typically justify it in almost any state. But for New Jersey, you have to play it very cautiously because you have more protection in the home than you do outside of the home. So outside of the home, you always want essentially a forcible felony to be taking place. So the use of force or deadly force upon or towards an intruder who is unlawfully in a dwelling is justifiable when the actor reasonably believes that the force is immediately necessary for the purpose of protecting himself or herself or another person in the dwelling against the use of unlawful force by the intruder. A reasonable belief exists. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. When the actor, to protect himself or herself or third person, was in his or her dwelling at the time of the offense or was privileged to be thereon, and encounter between the actor and the intruder was sudden and unexpected, compelling the actor to act instantly. The little bullet points right under it: the actor reasonably believed that under the intruder would inflict personal injury upon the actor or others in the dwelling, or the actor deemed that the intruder disarmed, surrendered, or withdrew, and the intruder refused to. So for the castle doctrine in New Jersey, it's kind of similar to Florida to a degree, where once that person enters your home, it's kind of like you're a little bit SOL because you can ask them to leave, and if they choose that they're not going to leave as soon as you say so, deadly force is justified. If you believe that they're going to come in and that they're going to commit great bodily harm against you, deadly force is justified as soon as they enter that dwelling. And I always tell people that entering the dwelling is through the threshold of the door. So really, once they put that first foot in, or they even get 2 feet inside of that doorway, that threshold, at that point, you could pretty much justify deadly force inside of New Jersey because they are inside of the dwelling. If they are on the outside of that door, you really want to try to stay away from it. Obviously, if they're kicking down the door, something like that, where they're going to make forceful entry, things may change. But for the most part, the castle doctrine for New Jersey is slightly similar in terms of the governance to Florida in this situation. Use of force is justified in protection of the person. The use of force is justified when the actor reasonably believes that such force is immediately necessary for the purpose of protecting himself or herself against the use of unlawful force by another person or the person's the present occasion. So again, I always go back to basic scenarios, like if you're at the gas station and somebody tries to, they're just approaching you in a way too aggressive manner. You're allowed to go hands-on with them to at least just push them back and try to, give yourself some space, especially if they're not allowing you to get that space and they're listening to your commands to back up. You can use force in those situations to try to protect yourself or yourself or another person in that situation if force would be necessary in that situation. The use of deadly force is not justified unless the actor reasonably believes that such force is necessary to protect himself or herself against death or serious bodily harm. If the actor provoked the use of force or the actor knows that he or she can avoid the necessary using such force with complete safety by retreating or surrendering possession of things, except that the actor is not obligated to retreat from one's dwelling unless he was the initial aggressor. That is stupid. Yeah, that's why I say New Jersey gun laws kind of suck, especially when you're outside of the house. So essentially, if somebody's robbing you, you don't have the right to protect yourself. Like, you can try to use force to a degree to try to protect yourself, but obviously if they're robbing you with a weapon, like, you're kind of just screwed in that situation. But even if they're not, the way this reads is like, if you could have surrendered your possessions, basically if they were trying to mug you for the money that you have and you could have surrendered and you chose not to, it could be construed in the court of law that you did not have the right to protect yourself because you could have giving over your property to them. In Florida, we don't play by those rules. If somebody's trying to take your stuff, it's a robbery in that situation. You are justified in using defense to protect yourself. Um, and again, you do have to try to make a safe retreat if possible. So I always say, like, if somebody were to come into the door this way, like, I'm in a corner right now, so there's no way to go. So yeah, I can use it. But if I did have a means of safe escape, meaning I could go that way, and this was a hallway, I would be obligated to try to go that way first in a court of law, as opposed to trying to take care of whatever the situation is with this person. So I don't like their use their deadly force laws, but the castle doctrine inside of the home it's pretty okay, but outside of the home, self defense seems pretty terrible. Constitutional carry is a hard no for New Jersey. Open carry is a hard no. Yes, they're a shall issue state. Every state is a shall issue state because of the New York versus Bruin case. Minimum age to get your concealed carry license is 21 in that state. They have magazine limits, 10 rounds only. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the 10 rounds. Like I was telling people earlier, like when that moment happens, there's a great chance adrenaline's going to dump. Could you give me some insight about carrying without a permit in Tennessee after New Jersey? Yes, I can go to Tennessee. I'll bounce around to there too. Yeah, anybody who wants to know state law, drop your state in the comment section and we'll get to it. 10 rounds is just, it could be enough. I mean, I'd take another 7 at least, plus the one up top. So give me 18. Because you're going to dump 5 rounds, like probably immediately, unless you just have control. Like it's a great chance you're going to dump 5. If you don't go to the range and you haven't trained to do that, like you're probably going to miss 9 of them. You may get them like once or twice, honestly, if you are halfway decent, but 10 rounds is just never enough. So don't like that at all. Weapons other than handguns, nope. You can only carry handguns with the New Jersey permit to carry handgun. That's a stupid abbreviation. Pepper spray, yeah, you can carry those as long as you're not a felon, you're 18 years of older, but you can't have them basically on any type of educational ground. So public schools, private schools, colleges, but we have pre-banned with certain guns. Yeah, so in New Jersey, you also have, I'm pretty sure you have a compliance list that you have to abide by. You can't just get any type of firearm inside of New Jersey, which I'm pretty sure I'll scroll down to that in a second. Tasers, they're also legal. You cannot have them on any type of government official property or any other type of place of higher learning or learning period. So public schools, colleges, universities, or educational institutes, it's a no. There are ammo restrictions. Oh, this is one of the stupidest laws I've heard in New Jersey. So ammo restrictions, hollow points are prohibited, and so are armor piercing ammunition. I can understand armor piercing, but to prohibit hollow points is one of the dumbest things I think I've ever heard. And for the simple reason, it's like, okay, yes, if you want to break down the theory, it's like if you use a full metal jacket, it's going through and it's less likely to cause as much damage, but they don't offer you civil liability or civil immunity in New Jersey. So if that bullet goes through and it hits little daughter, grandmother, brother, father, whoever, there's a great chance you're going to be responsible for them and that family can sue you for a wrongful death suit. But if you use the hollow point, the physics of it would expand, it would not exit, and God forbid it did exit and hit somebody else. Well, I can blame the company and their product not working as advertised and not my negligence in ammo. So for them to ban hollow points except for, owning on land or, basically for shooting competitions is kind of dumb, or for hunting. Like it just doesn't really make sense to do that. You're opening yourself up to so much more liability. Card to parrot. And you need a permit in order to purchase ammunition inside of New Jersey too. So you can't just purchase. You do still need a permit in order to get ammo at least. Carry inside of hotels, they don't have anything that specifically addresses firearms inside of hotels. So what they don't know what hurt them, it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is permission. So just if you have the permit to carry in New Jersey, I would carry in the hotel. I'd carry every place I got an opportunity to. When it comes to carrying in the car, again, they have a lot of stipulations. So with the New Jersey permit to carry, you are allowed, but there are stipulations pretty much. Without legal purpose, no person may transport firearms from the state of New Jersey. And when you are transporting them, especially if you don't have the license, you basically it has to be a new purchase that you're taking home from the dealer. It has to be broken and you're taking it to a gunsmith. You have to be traveling to or returning from the gun range, or you have to legally be moving places or engaged in hunting or trapping. So those are the only times you can really transport firearms. And then without the New Jersey permit, all firearms must be transported in a securely fastened case, unloaded, and separated from the ammunition. If transporting a gun in a car, it should be not accessible from the passenger compartment. If the gun must be carried in the passenger compartment, it must be locked in a container. It is illegal to carry a pistol and ammunition in the glove box even a locked one. So, I mean, they didn't really specify if castle doctrine extended to the car, in which in this case I don't really think it does that much. So when it comes to carjackings, like if somebody's going to take you out of their car or your car, like it's kind of a sketchy situation because there's no way you're going to get that thing ready in time if they're going to break your window and they're really about it in that moment. So again, this is why some of the New England states are just terrible when it comes to their laws, in my personal opinion. Storing in an employee parking lot, there's no laws that address it. So yeah, keep it inside of the car. But again, it's kind of a contradictory thing because obviously we see that we just read all the criteria that you basically need and stipulations that you need to carry inside of the car. So to even have it in an employer's parking lot would be sketchy. You'd pretty much need the permit to carry there, and even then, um, it may still be sketchy because there's nothing specified about it. You can carry at roadside stops at least. That's a thing we're allowed to do. National parks is a hard no. You cannot carry in bars as of October 2022. A new bill was passed prohibiting concealed carry in bars or restaurants where alcohol is served in any other site or facility where alcohol is sold for consumption on the premise. A federal judge has overturned this aspect of the bill temporarily pending appeal. So it looks like you can't, but it may be going through the court systems where you will be allowed to soon. So stay tuned for that if you're in New Jersey. I'll have to look up what that one's about. Your driver's license is not linked to your concealed carry, but therefore LEO will not be notified once they run your license if you actually have a permit to carry. No weapons allowed signs are not enforced. Brandishing, there's no real definition of brandishing, but I think just like every state, if you brandish your firearm in a way where you were the aggressor and you're doing it in a way to intimidate, there's a great chance you're going to get an improper exhibition charge or maybe a menacing charge if they choose to be nice. But there's a great chance they're going to hit you with the improper exhibition. And in Jersey, it's like they'll lock you up for simply being with the firearm, period. So you really want to be careful. A person is guilty of assault if he attempts by physical menace. So again, that's probably what they're going to hit you with by menacing to put another in fear of immediate seriously bodily harm. So yeah, if you brandish that firearm trying to be the aggressor or trying to intimidate somebody, you're going to be charged with menacing and probably improper exhibition. Depending on how they articulate where that muzzle was pointed, you might even get an assault with a deadly weapon charge. So be very careful when you're trying to bring your firearms out. Glad I'm in Florida. Exactly. I would never move to New Jersey or probably any other New England state. Preemption. Yes, states have preemption. There are red flag laws. New Jersey has red flag laws. A family or household member or a person or law enforcement may file a petition for an extreme risk protection order prohibiting a person from having custody or control of owning, possessing, purchasing, or receiving firearm. I mean, yes, there's an investigation that's going to go into it, so they're not just going to take your stuff automatically, but the best way to get through that, if you ever feared somebody may red flag you, which I don't know why somebody should red flag you, you should be a sane and pretty decent human being. A trust is the best way to get through that. You establish a trust, you say that, hey, if anything happens, my firearms will go to this trustee. And that way, if you were ever red flagged in a state, instead of the state taking your firearms from you, it would go to the trustee and they would then have possession of it. But again, you would not be allowed to touch it. You would have to hold back until your red flag sentence is over, essentially. Carrying while using alcohol or drugs, no, because you can't drink while having your carry on you. So you cannot be under the influence of any type of substance or anything that impairs your judgment, essentially. Non-resident permitting, yes. So you can get an out-of-state permit in New Jersey. You got to go through the same process, and then it may be a little bit of a longer wait. I think there's like a 45-day wait. That might be on purchasing, but if I'm not mistaken, I think there's a 45-day wait. Duty to inform an officer, yes, you do have a duty to inform an officer. So even though your license isn't linked to your concealed carry and they won't know, as soon as the officer comes up, you do have a duty to let them know that you're carrying a concealed weapon on you. There's no public access to the concealed registry list there. We already went over, you need a permit to purchase. Having a permit does not exempt you from a background check, which I agree. I don't think anybody should be exempt from a background check just because they have a permit. Granted, I know the permit is supposed to help, but always run a background check. Granted, if you did something wrong, there's a great chance they would not allow you to have that permit anyway. But just in case, we should always be running background checks. That's just my personal opinion. Is it linked in Florida? No, it is not linked in Florida either. You can have it linked, but police do not have access to that information. So when they run your license, they will not know. And we are a no duty to inform state, so you don't have to let them know unless they ask. Minimum age to transport, possession of a handgun on private property. So yes, you can have a handgun on private property. We've already kind of gone through the council doctrines part of it. Again, you got to go through the whole loops and hoops and the whole gambit in order to get the firearm. But when it comes to your private property, you have pretty much the most rights when it comes to the Second Amendment. Handgun registry, yes. Background checks for private gun sales is a yes. The handgun purchase process for New Jersey, and then I'll go to New York and I'll answer some of the other ones that you guys were just asking me about. To purchase in New Jersey, you need the identification card, complete the application, state ID, two references of who at least. So you need two references that show good character and sound mental health in order to get your permit in New Jersey too. So there's a lot of loops to jump through after your application is consent. The form will be submitted. New Jersey has 30 days to notify you if you've been approved. If your approval, you have 90 days. You have 90 days to purchase a handgun before your permit expires. So they give you, it's 30 days before they let you know that you're approved or denied. And then after you're approved, you have 90 days to essentially purchase before your permit expires. And so then I guess for my New Jersey guys, do you have to get a new permit after that? Which I would think not, but the way that reads is kind of dumb. So let me go back to what'd you guys ask? Tennessee. Let's go to Tennessee real quick. Bounce over there. Tennessee actually has pretty decent gun laws. I don't mind their gun laws. Every state shall issue. Their permits are governed by the Department of Safety and Homeland Security. There's no permit, background checks or firearm registry when buying or purchasing a handgun from a private individual. Tennessee prohibits the possession of a firearm with the intent to go armed. So if you're ever in an altercation, there's no hopping in the car with your gun on you because at that point the intent was to go armed from that point forward. So you do got to be mindful of that in Tennessee. However, on July 1st, 2021, a law was passed creating a statutory exception which allows permitless open carry and concealed carry for anyone that is at least 18 years or older that may lawfully possess a handgun in a place where the person has a right to be and meets 3 additional criteria. They don't really list that criteria. I have to go into the actual state law to find those 3 criteria. Some areas off limits, including government properties and schools. I mean, that's usually most states. As of April 2021, the FPC, Firearm Policy Coalition, they sued Tennessee for prohibiting 18 to 20-year-olds from not carrying. So they kind of did the same thing that Texas did. And they said, you're still infringing on the Second Amendment right of an adult if you limit them to being 21 years of age to carry. So they sued them for 18 to 20-year-olds to at least be able to carry a concealed firearm in public or from obtaining a permit, stating that the restrictions was unconstitutional on January 23rd, 2023. Attorney of the state, Tennessee, entered into and agreed ordered in federal court with the FPC. The order stipulated that the state restrictions were unconstitutional and they were no longer in force. The order immediately went into effect. So between 18 to 20, you are allowed to use the same permitless carry bills as somebody that is 21 years of age. So Tennessee is pretty similar to Texas in that where, as soon as you become an adult, you are allowed to legally carry if you are a law-abiding citizen. You have nothing prohibiting you. The South period got good gun laws. It's up north. Yeah, it really is up north. Once you start to get past honestly, just the South, as soon as you get to the DMV and up, it becomes real stupid real quick. As of January 1st, 2020, Senate Bill 705 created 2 levels of Tennessee. So this is interesting because they have 2 levels to their handgun permits. Applicants may obtain a concealed handgun permit by taking a 90-minute online course. Nothing there. So that's for the basic permit. The other option is an enhanced handgun carry permit, which requires completion of an 8-hour live training course from certified instructors and allow permittees to carry a gun openly or concealed to more places. Non-residents may apply for the HCP if they work in the state on a regular basis and hold a valid concealed carry permit in their home state. So the only way to get a non-residence license is you need a license in your own state, and then 2, you need to be working inside of Tennessee on a regular basis in order to carry. But they do still allow anybody that is, if you have a permit from your state, you're good, and then they're pretty much permitless carry, so you'd still be allowed to kind of carry there. You just have a lot more restrictions. They only can take an application after being employed for 6 months, and the only within 6 months after the initial 6-month work period. In terms of reciprocity, Tennessee honors all concealed carry permits from every other state. So this is why, like, when Florida went permitless carry, or for all these permitless carry states, states do not honor each other's laws. They honor reciprocity. So just because Florida's permitless carry doesn't necessarily mean that I can go to another state and that my laws here apply there. If they are permitless carry, that can be cool, but they still may require that you have a license from your state, or you'll be restricted to certain criteria and certain things that you're allowed and not allowed to do more than somebody that would have a permit from their actual state. As an unlicensed person in Florida, what is the law to carry in a car? For unlicensed in Florida, you're not allowed to have the firearm on your person. So when you get inside of the car, it explicitly says it should not be on the person. Securely encased and otherwise not readily accessible is the golden rule across the board. My golden rule is put your firearm inside of a holster. It's the safest thing that you could possibly do. Not doing it is, in my opinion, the most negligent thing that you could do. So put it inside a holster. You could put it anywhere inside of the car, center console, glove compartment, the cup holder if you really wanted to. Mine sits in front of the seatbelt buckle. That's how you do it, not on the person. I have the license, but I just sitting down with the seatbelt over when you're appendix carrying, sitting down with the seatbelt over here, like it's a whole process. And then to try to do all that, if you actually need to get to it, like you're just not. You're not going to have enough time. You're not going to have the motor functions. So put it in a place that's easy to reach. And then if the police pull you over, put it in the center console, go about your business. And then once they leave, put it back in whatever place that you had it. After 6 years in New Jersey, moved to North Carolina and can buy ammo in gas stations now. What? North Carolina, you can buy ammo at gas stations? That's actually kind of wild. I mean, I guess I don't necessarily have any issues with it, but if I were to walk into 7-Eleven or like Sunoco and they just had like some RIP rounds just sitting there, I'd be like, yo, what a place that we live in. So that's a cool fun fact that I had no idea about. Defensive third person for Tennessee. We'll keep going. A person is justified. What up, bro? A person is justified in threatening or using force against another to protect a third person if the person reasonably believes that the force is immediately necessary to protect third persons against unlawful force. So again, that's most of the situations. If you're witnessing somebody being beat or being like hurt or having force used against them, you are allowed to intervene if that person would be justified in using force to protect themselves anyway. Maybe they just don't know how to fight, and in that case, you can. But obviously, be very careful, especially like if it's a man-on-woman situation. Like domestic violence situations are some of the stupidest situations to get involved in, because you try to pull him off of her off of him. You try to pull her off of him and she starts beating you because she actually loves him. And like they do this every other Tuesday. So be very careful trying to intervene in other people's business. Obviously, I guess to the point where you feel like somebody's about to die. Like if you see them wailing on top of them and like they're getting bloody, at that point you want to intervene, but you want to be very careful trying to get in other people's business. It just gets messy very quickly. As an unlicensed, okay, I just read that one. Thank you. You're welcome, bud. Yes, I plan to get that soon. When in the car, I usually put it in my console. I'm in Tennessee. Yeah, let's scroll down to how Tennessee says you should carry inside of the car. Where is it? Carry locations. Store in a vehicle. No, that's storing in an employee parking lot. I can never find them when I like absolutely need to, but when I don't need to, like it just pops up right in front of me. Preemption, ammo restrictions, chemical spray, weapons, minimum carry. All right, we're just gonna go through the carry basics and then we'll get there eventually. Always call the police. I had to stop doing that. I've been threatened to be shot by a man for that. Like exactly, all the time. Like he loves her, she loves him. They do this every other day, and like it's just sometimes the best to mind your own business. Because like I said, you get involved with like even police. They don't like getting involved in DV situations just because, bro, it's stupid. Like y'all are being dumb. You're doing this in public. You're embarrassing yourselves. It's just not the smartest thing to do. Instagram, can y'all hear me? I see that it says the audio is off. So I just clicked that. Hopefully y'all can still hear me on Instagram. If not, everybody on Instagram, I just turned the audio on. So go ahead and hop back on. And then if y'all can go try to follow me on Twitch too, we'll try to get that up. But it looks like TikTok is still popping right now, so we're gonna keep rolling. Gun permit license, minimum age to carry is 18 in Tennessee. No other weapons besides a handgun is allowed to be carried with that basic handgun license. Tasers and stun guns are legal. There's no magazine limits. Ammo restrictions. It is an offense to manufacture, sell, offer for sale, display for sale, or use any ammunition containing a bullet with a hollow nose cavity that is filling with explosive material and designated to. Okay, they almost had me. Tennessee almost lost my respect for a brief moment reading that sentence. Yeah, it's fair. If the ammo has if it's a ammo that will blow up upon impact because it has incendiary materials in the tip of it, yeah, I don't really think civilians should be using those. Those just cause way too much collateral damage, and it's honestly no need. A 147 grain, spear will do the job very well. You don't really need much more than that. Most states will let you carry within your car without a CCW. Well, southern states, yeah, most southern states you can carry in your car without a CCW. It's really when you start getting up north that they got really strict criteria, like New Jersey. It's like if you're not doing pretty much four specific things in New Jersey on the way to the gun shop, leaving the gun shop, a new purchase, going for a repair, or actively going hunting, like you can't have a firearm in your car without a license in New Jersey. If you do, like you're probably going to do at least a year in jail if they pop you. So yeah, New England states have very tight laws when it comes to stuff like that, but most southern states don't. Permitless carry, yes. I want to get to how you carry in national parks, your roadside areas. Those are all yes. Carrying bars, yes, without a permit unless posted and provided you don't consume any alcohol. So yeah, you can carry in a bar. Granted, in Tennessee, they have a lot of bars that still have no gun signs allowed, and no gun signs allowed are enforced in Tennessee to a degree. Granted, I may or may not listen to some of those sometimes. I mean, if it's a concealed carry state, you kind of got to catch me. I hope people in Tennessee don't see me and start recognizing me, but I think I do a pretty good job anyway, and it's none of their business in the first place. I'll deal with whatever I got to deal with on the backside. Storing your vehicle in an employee parking lot, yes. Oh, carrying a vehicle, here it goes. Yes, anyone who is not otherwise prohibited from owning a firearm and is in lawful possession of a motor vehicle may conceal carry or open carry a handgun. In addition, unless expressively prohibited by federal law, firearms may be transported and stored in the vehicle while on or utilizing any public or private parking area. The motor vehicle is parked in a location where the motor vehicle is permitted to be. The firearm and ammunition are being transported and stored in the motor vehicle. Is kept from the ordinary observation if the person is in the motor vehicle, or is kept from ordinary observation and locked within the trunk glove compartment interior or of the person's motor vehicle or container securely affixed to the motor vehicle if the person is not in the motor vehicle. So yeah, it's pretty loose laws inside of Tennessee. Like if you're not in the car, don't let the firearm be seen because one, that's just a great way to get your car broken into. Like that's a $600 piece of equipment right there. And then the actual repercussions of what they do, obviously you don't want that to happen. So Tennessee just says, keep it out of the ordinary sight when you're in the car and when you're outside of the car, make sure it's, locked in somewhere where if somebody did break in, like if they can't get into the glove box, that's exactly where you want it to be. So put it somewhere safe. Key residence, non-permanent. So yeah, if you're not from Tennessee, you can get one. But again, we went through the criteria. You got to be working there for like 6 months. And I forgot the other criteria. There's no public access to the concealed carry registry. Some states, they allow you to just look at whoever has a concealed carry license in the state. I do not like that at all. I don't think you should be allowed to do that. Duty to inform officers. There's no duty to inform a law enforcement officer that you're carrying a concealed firearm in Tennessee. A permit holder must have the permit in the holder's immediate possession at all times while carrying a handgun in locations or manner that would be prohibited if for the person's status as a concealed handgun carry permit holder, that's a mouthful, or an enhanced handgun carry permit holder, and must display the permit upon demand from law enforcement and under such circumstances. So you have no duty to inform an officer that you're carrying in Tennessee, but if you're in a place that would normally be prohibited from having firearms, and let's say you have the enhanced carry license there, if an officer sees you printing or they just, there's certain ways, like some of us, like especially when you work in security or you work in law enforcement, you can tell by the way people walk, by the way they carry themselves, by the way they fix their shirt, by the way they hold their pants, if they have a firearm on them. Sometimes you can't, but especially for the people that are uncomfortable doing it or they're trying to hide it from you, they always let it be known just based off small little details that they do and they don't even know it usually. Your driver's license is linked to your concealed carry inside of Tennessee. So as soon as they run your license, they will know that you are a concealed carry or that you have the concealed carry license and you more than likely have a concealed carry on you. There are no red flag laws in Tennessee, so go you guys. No one can petition to take your firearms there. Brandishing laws, there's no definition of brandishing, but like I said, we go off the basic, I'll almost call it common law, even though we're not in the Commonwealth area. You don't want to get a menacing charge. You don't want to get an improper exhibition charge for bringing your firearm out when you don't need to, or if you're trying to intimidate somebody with fear of death or great bodily harm, whichever one. You don't want to catch a menacing charge for that. While using alcohol, you cannot be under the influence. So while you can carry in a bar, you cannot drink anything in the bar. Tennessee is a big old drinking state. Like there's just bars everywhere. So They allow you to carry, you just can't drink anything while inside. No weapons allowed signs are enforced. Specifically, they're enforced when they have Tennessee Annotated Code 39-17-1359. So it's kind of the same in Florida. I tell people, I'm like, no gun signs. Well, for Florida, no gun signs are not enforced unless they have specific statutes, basically, or they're quoting 79006 U.S. Title Code 18 or any official statute that is codified that says, yeah, you cannot bring your firearm in here. So usually it's government places. When you go to the post office, it's clear as day. When you go to the airport, it's clear as day. Any kind of government property is usually clear as day. People drink day and night, Monday through Sunday. Oh, 100%. I've been to Tennessee just at like 12 in the afternoon, and there are people blacked out walking down Broadway. It's actually one of the funnier things to see. Downtown is always busy, and yeah, I was just in Tennessee last month. There, people are literally just black drunk all the time. I actually kind of love it though. Permit to purchase. You don't need a permit to purchase. Background checks for private sales is a negative. You're not exempt from the background check just because you have a Tennessee permit, so you're still going to get a background check. There are no waiting periods, so again, you guys have that going for you. No handgun registry. Possessed on private property is a yes. So those are the most of the Tennessee gun laws. For everybody in the, oh wait, what did you say? If you have 3 handguns in New Jersey, can you carry any of those 3? You can barely carry 1 handgun inside of Jersey. So if you have 3 handguns in New Jersey, can you I mean, I'm gonna just say it's a hard no. Like, it's already pretty sketchy to be caught with 1 gun. If you have 3, they might just give you a year for every gun just because. In what instance are you kind of talking about? Like, if you have a permit to carry, or just in general, like, can you have 3 firearms in the car with you at any given time? What state do you reside in? I'm in the good old gunshine state of Florida. The good old gunshine state where we are governed by DeSantis. Let's go. Anybody else? I don't have to bounce over to California just yet. Who else wants to see another state's gun laws? Drop your state, drop your gun question. Ask me something. Or you guys can pick a light. We can change one of these lights right now. Let's go to blue. Will it change? I'm liking that. We'll go to blue for a little bit. Try to turn up the brightness. Actually, I don't think I like blue. I think I might keep green. I think green is kind of a better color for this right now, so we'll keep it green. Somebody asked me for another one earlier, but I don't remember who it was. So let's scroll up. Absolutely. Thank you. You're welcome. I swear somebody asked me for another one. Well, I can't find it. So let's bounce over to the good old state of California. Now, this one is actually going to be a long one. California has absolutely the dumbest laws I've ever seen. They are just, Jesus Lord, bless them. They have so much going on. They have so many like Supreme Court cases that are pending, some Supreme Court cases that are going on. For everybody that is on the live right now, give me a follow, especially if you're on TikTok. I need to get to 10,000 so I can get the live studio creator, so I can do more with the lives while we're actually doing the lives. TikTok deleted my account about 2 years ago. I was at 78,000, and now we're just going to rebuild again. But that's a story for another time that we will never tell again. So if we talk about California, they are shall issue state. So beforehand, let's go into this right now too, because we used to have may issue states, and then we also have, thank you for the follow, big shout out to you, Goddess Vibe 5. So we used to have may issue states, and we used to have shall issue states. So a shall issue state was essentially, as long as you fit the criteria to get a concealed carry license, the state would issue you one. Like Florida's a shall issue. As long as you fit the criteria to get the license, we would give you that license. You had may issue states like New York, California, for example, where they had the basic criteria and codified statute that said what it would take to get a concealed carry license, but they may add extra criteria, or they could essentially deem and go off of judgment whether they wanted to issue you one or not. And even though California is a shall issue state now, they still have specific things and kind of certain loopholes that they can use to basically issue you one or not issue you one. And we'll go through it, but this may take a little second, actually. California's a shall issue. The Supreme Court ruling after July 23rd, 2022, New York Supreme case versus Bruin, turned them into a shall issue. Licenses are issued by the county sheriff's office or local police station. So already right there, I don't like that, because county sheriffs, local police stations, they could be super biased based off the region, especially in California. Like if you're in LA County or if you're in LA, it's heavy gang activity. So it's like you may really need a firearm in most of those situations, but depending on how you look, depending on what street address you put down, there's a great chance that they're going to tell you no because you live at such and such address, or you this or that, that or this. So even though they're shall issue, they still have a lot of loopholes and things that they can do. Any resident of this state who has not previously reported ownership of firearm for ownership of a firearm, or anyone moving to California with a firearm is considered a personal firearm import and must provide a report to the Department of Justice regarding their firearm, or sell or transfer the firearm through the licensed dealer or to a sheriff or police department. The California Department of Justice runs background checks and retains information about the purchaser and seller in all in-state firearm sales and transfers. So we already see, like, in that one paragraph, how much more governance there is in California. If I purchase what did I say? If I purchase 3 handguns and I have a permit to carry and I only qualified with 1, can I carry? I'm gonna just tell you to only carry the one that you qualified with and that you have registered with New Jersey. Granted, you have to register every firearm, so I'm sure you did register every single one. I would use the one that you qualified with just to avoid any type of mishaps, and then just go get the other 2 registered or qualify with them, whatever you have to do to kind of make sure you cover your 6 on that. Because if not, like I said, they're going to pop you and they'll probably give you like a year. I'll have to go back to New Jersey to kind of check and see if they specified that one, but excuse me, you really want to not mess with New Jersey. Follow their statutes to the T as best you can, because if not, the New England states will get you. All firearm sales in California must be completed through a dealer. A permit to purchase, a background check, and a transaction report to the Department of Justice are required to buy a handgun. So we already see the loops you have to jump through there. No person may sell, loan, or transfer a firearm to a minor, nor sell a handgun to an individual under 21 years of age. All ammunition, which is interesting, because note that they say you can't sell to anyone under 21 years of age, but their technical legal age to possess is 18 in California. But they still have this stipulation in there, and there's a bunch of more loopholes that you got to kind of get through. A state like California, it shouldn't be hard to obtain a firearm because they have the border to Mexico. I mean, it may not be hard to get one, but like, we see what happened to Tory Lanez when he got one. Like, you get a firearm in California and you end up using it in a situation and it's caught on camera and they can trace it back to you. Like, he's doing 10 right now, or at least he's fighting 10, and all because he was in possession. Like, just a side rant on him. Like, the whole reason Tory Lanez is in a big issue right now is because he had a firearm in the state. Not even really because he discharged his firearm at Meg. Granted, that is also a part of it, but it's not even for hitting the person. It's for being in possession in the state. Because again, she wasn't going to press charges in that situation. The state attorney did not care. It was a chance to make a statement. So yeah, you can get one from the border of Mexico, but be prepared for everything that's going to come with that, because the moment you have to use it in California, with gang activity being the way it is, there's a chance you may have to use it. You're going down. To open carry a firearm, which is surprising that they even have it as a stipulation that you can open carry in California, which is kind of wild. The open carry of a firearm is governed in California by a set of laws that at times conflict with one another. Open carrying loaded or unloaded firearms in public is generally prohibited in California. However, the sheriff of any county with a population under 200,000 people, or the chief of police of the city within that county, may issue license to carry a loaded exposed handgun. Those licenses are only valid in the county where they are issued. So again, it's another situation where it's like, why or how is this, like, it's so governed by the individual, and they have so much leeway to be able to say what they can do, what they won't do, and the things that they're actually going to allow on a level. I'm hoping that doesn't mean my battery's about to die on that little gimbal, because that would really suck. I may just have to throw a charger in that thing right now. Concealed carry is only legal in California with the California Concealed Carry Weapons License. The minimum age is set at 18. So again, you can't sell to anybody under the age of 21, but the minimum age to get a concealed carry license is 18 years old. They have so many laws that's conflicting. They just don't know what they want to do in the West. Although a licensing authority has the discretion to require applicants to be older than 18 years of age, a concealed weapon license may include any reasonable restrictions or conditions which the issuing authority deems warranted, including restrictions as to the time, place, manner, and circumstances under which the person may carry a firearm. So again, you're allowed, they're a shall issue state because the Supreme Court forced them to become a shall issue state, but they're still picking and choosing who they're going to issue those licenses to based off the county they're in. So it's a whole headache in the state of California. Let's see what their defense laws are like. So California is at least a castle doctrine state. There's some light in the sunny state. The person using force must have reason to believe that an unlawful or forceful entry occurred and has no duty to retreat. Though California does not have a stand your ground statute, the state, I do not know what word that is, so we're just going to skip it. Case have held that there is no duty to retreat before using force in public. In addition, California criminal jury instruction allow a jury to acquit someone based on a stand your ground defense. The instruction appears in Cal Crim 505 and 506, which maybe we'll look into those. I guess that's the California criminal jury instructions, both which deal with justifiable homicide. A person using force intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm, injury within his or her residence shall be presumed to have held reasonable fear of immediate peril of death or great bodily harm, injury to self, family, or member of household when that force is used against another person, not a member of the family or household who unlawfully and forcefully entered and has unlawfully and forcefully entered the residence. We can sum this up because I'm not going to lie, that whole thing is a bunch of bull. Hold on. I don't want this to die. Charge that up. So, there was recently a case in California where there was a man who was I think he was coming back from the gym. He had a coffee in his hand. He was about to open his door. He had his wife and kid inside. And somebody decided, or, two members decided that they were going to try to break into his home and try to rob him at his front door. He discharged his weapon. He protected his dwelling. He did some maneuvers to try to make sure that they were not going to come in, that he didn't get hit. And afterwards, when he reported to the county, they revoked his concealed carry license. So California is one of those states that's always looking to basically make a demonstration when it comes to gun reform, and they will use any instance that they can. In this situation, the guy had a registered firearm. He had a license to carry. He followed all the proper procedures that we just talked about, but California still denied him or revoked his concealed carry license after he used all the reasonable things necessary to satisfy the state and their requirements. And he had a justifiable use of self-defense, and they still revoked his license. So California is just too conflicting in terms of most of their gun laws, and it's just not justified. What's up to every new person that's in the chat? If there are new people in the chat, drop a question about gun laws in the chat, and we will talk about them. If you have a scenario or anything that you've been through, tell me about it. I want to hear. Minimum age to carry is 18, although they're probably going to make you wait until you're 21. And if they do allow you to carry at 18, you are a golden child and an exception in the eyes of the law. Other handguns or other weapons other than handguns, pistol, revolvers, or other firearms capable of being concealed upon the person, which again, it's kind of strange that they have so many restrictions, but they say any other firearms capable of being concealed upon the person. A person can conceal an AR pistol or even an AR in a lot of cases. So it's kind of wild that they would even have that provision. They have a lot of conflicting laws. They do have ammunition restrictions, no more than 10 rounds. As of late December 2021, the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals granted a 150-day stay in the case of Duncan versus Bonta, blocking the state of California from enforcing the magazine prohibition. If the backers of the lawsuit file a petition with the U.S. Supreme Court on the matter during the 150-day period, the stay will continue until the case reaches a final decision. I don't know if they kept going, but I do know that did take into effect. We are very far past December 21st, but if I remember correctly, and I would just risk looking wrong and being wrong in this moment right here, I do think that the magazine ban in California was lifted and that you can ship. They can have more than 10 rounds now. Granted, maybe not, because this is still saying no more than 10 rounds. So we're just going to go off this information and say that you can only have 10 rounds in California. The U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that on November 30th, 2021, California has a ban on large magazine. Therefore, the ban on owning large capacity magazines will stay in place for now. So yeah, it did still stay. They pretty much don't allow it, but they have been going through in a continuous back and forth to try to keep it at 10 rounds. Granted, Texas, which we're going to go through next, has been somebody. What did you say? In New Jersey, what is the current place that the PTC holders can and cannot carry? We'll bounce back to that as soon as I finish on California. Tasers and stun guns, yes, you can purchase them at a minimum age of 19 with no felony convictions. Tasers and stun guns are not permitted on property of state universities, so pretty much places of higher education, schools, private schools, or sterile airports. And let's just add government property in there too, because it usually always applies. California is the furthest thing from a constitutional state if we could get there. Ammo restrictions, no armor piercing, and purchase of .5 Browning machine gun, so no 50 BMG. You must be legally eligible to purchase and own a firearm and be at least 21 years of age to purchase ammunition. So again, it's kind of strange. They'll allow you, by law, you could be allowed to carry at 18, but you're not even allowed to purchase ammunition until you're 21. So again, we have more conflicting gun laws from California. Ammunition may not be purchased out of state and then brought into California. Doing so will be a misdemeanor. So you can't go purchase 50 BMG outside and then bring it across state borders. They will get you for that. Destructive devices. California basically prohibits bombs and things that blow up from coming inside. Tracer rounds, incendiary ammunition, and tracer ammunition manufactured for the shotgun. So there are no Dragon Flame shotgun rounds that are allowed there. Municipalities and restrictions, for instance, Winchester Black Talons federal premium law enforcement ammunition tactical. Wow. I wouldn't expect them to do that one, but I definitely have them. And Hornady tactical application police law enforcement ammunition are prohibited in San Francisco County specifically. Background checks update February 2024. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has stayed the request for California to keep the law in place while the appeal process plays out. The law is once again enforceable January 2024. A federal judge has struck down the law requiring background checks to buy ammunition. The state of California has appealed the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and was denied during the process. So, yeah, beforehand, I remember working with FFLs, we could now ship to California. We could ship ammo out there. We couldn't beforehand, but the Ninth Circuit of Court overruled California, which a lot of states are just moving to softer gun laws, we'll call them, or not as rough gun laws in terms of a lot of the things, just because there's a lot of weird things happening in the country right now, and I think more people are just trying to get privy to it and protect their state the best they can under the circumstances. Until this case, it is completely resolved. This information is maintained. We're not going to keep reading that. Carry locations, carry inside of a vehicle in California. Well, you asked me about New Jersey. Let's hop over back to New Jersey real quick. California is kind of boring me. They are not the most fun at all. You said places that you can and cannot carry inside of New Jersey. All the places, restrictions. I think I gotta scroll up. Places prohibited, dealer to purchase, private, open carry, gun license, age, minimum, magazine, weapons, tasers, ammunition restrictions, carrying the vehicle, store in a vehicle. Somebody was asking me about storing or carrying multiple firearms too. I'll try to get that one while I'm looking through New Jersey right now. Carry at roadside stops, yes. You cannot carry in bars or restaurants. Those are prohibited. You can't carry in national and state parks. Those are restricted. You can carry at a roadside stop in New Jersey. That's not prohibited. Possessing inside of a vehicle is extremely sketchy, especially if you don't have that license. There's only like 4 places that you can actually go. Preemption while using drugs or alcohol, non-resident permitting. So yeah, they don't have that many on this form that I'm looking at. I don't see that many places that you can't necessarily carry, but I'll tell you, most of the times the same way it applies for almost every state. Can't carry at schools, you can't carry in government property, you can't carry in airports. Some places prohibit churches. There was nothing specified about that in terms of New Jersey gun laws. Then let's see, our no gun signs are they enforced in New Jersey? No gun signs allowed being enforced in New Jersey. Carry at roadside stops. secure locations. You could possess at a hotel. There's nothing stopping you from possessing at a hotel. There's nothing addressing carrying a firearm in your employee parking lot. Again, if you have that license to carry, you have to follow the criteria, which I'll go over again real quick. So the criteria to carry inside of your car is with a New Jersey permit, with the appropriate stipulations only, without a legal purpose. Without a legal purpose, no person may transport firearms in the state of New Jersey. Legal purposes include taking a newly purchased firearm from home to the dealer, bringing a broken firearm to a gunsmith, traveling to or returning from the gun range, or hunting without a New Jersey permit. All firearms must be transported in a securely fastened case, unloaded, separated from the ammunition. If transporting a gun in a car, it should be not accessible from the passenger compartment. If the gun must be carried in the passenger compartment, it must be locked in a locked container, and it is illegal to carry a pistol and ammunition in the glove compartment, even if it's locked. So that's what it is for New Jersey. Like I said, it's very terrible. Let's bounce to, let me make sure I tried to hit most of that for New Jersey. Open carry is not a thing. What's up to everybody who's joining the chat? Go ahead and drop your questions if you have anything, whatever gun laws you want to know. Shout it out right now, and we will go ahead and look at it. We've already been on for an hour. We'll probably finish up on Texas, and then if you guys have more questions, we'll go through it, and if not, we'll just call it quits for the night. We've already done 3 streams today. So for Texas, the good old Lone Star State, this is probably the state with maybe the best gun laws there are. Just in terms of the things that you're allowed to do and then the ways that you're allowed to carry. Like I said, every state's a shall issue state. Concealed weapon licenses are issued by the Department of Public Safety in Texas. No permits, background checks, or firearm registrations required when purchasing from a private individual. As of September 1st, 2021, permitless concealed carry and open carry is legal for anyone 21 years of age or older who can lawfully be in possession of a handgun. The new law applies for both open carry in a holster and concealed carry, where no part of the firearm is visible. Texas law is quite specific in that openly carrying a handgun must be kept in a holster. So it doesn't mean you can just have an AR strapped to your back if you want. You have to keep the firearm inside of a holster. Texas LTCs are issued on both residents and non-residents who are 21 years of age of older. If you're 18, you're a member of the armed forces or a veteran, you are also allowed to get it. They require a 4 to 6 hour training course, as well as passing both a written exam and a shooting proficiency demonstration. Some areas are off limits, including racetracks and secure areas like airports. In terms of reciprocity, Texas is permitless carry, so reciprocity really doesn't matter for them. As long as you're 21 years of age and you're legally allowed to be in possession of a firearm, you can carry in Texas. Granted, they do honor every license from every other state. So the United States District Judge Mark T. Pittman ruled that 18 to 20-year-olds must be allowed to carry a handgun outside of the home in Texas. He allowed this to be done by letting them get a Texas license to carry. So the Texas Department of Safety will now issue LTCs to anyone who is 18 years of older on January 10th, 2023. So it's already into effect. And so, yeah, that's already pretty much straight into effect. If you're 18 years of older, you can still get that LTC if you want. You don't need a license. What's up, Brandon? You don't need a license or you don't need to be 21 years of age to do that. You can do it at 18 in Texas. When it comes to self-defense laws, Texas is a castle doctrine state, and they have a stand your ground, and there is no duty to retreat from a place that you have a right to be, and that you're not basically doing any criminal mischief. A person has the right to be if that person faces a situation where he or she has to use force or deadly force to protect himself or herself. You're allowed to do so under their stand your ground. Now, Texas, we're going to get into the nitty gritty because Texas is one of those places where you can protect property, even if it's movable property like a car or something. And in most states, you are not allowed to protect property because I always say an insurance claim can get your property back, but if you discharge somebody, like it's over with. But Texas does not play by those rules, but we'll read the criteria. So deadly force in defense of a person. The actor believed that deadly force was immediately necessary as described by that subdivision and presumed to be reasonable if the actor knew or had reason to believe that the person against whom the deadly force was used unlawfully and forcibly entered or was attempting to enter the actor's occupied habitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment. unlawful or with force removed or was attempting to remove the actor from the actor's habitation, vehicle, or place of business or employment, was committing or attempting to commit aggravated kidnapping, murder, sexual assault, aggravated sexual assault, robbery, or aggravated robbery. So I always refer back. I may have missed, but I just moved to Florida. I'm 55 with no criminal records. So what do I need to know? So in terms of Florida, if I mean, there's a lot of things that you can know. We're in no duty to retreat state. There's a lot of different laws. Do you have a specific question? Because I mean, I can just hop to Florida right after this. But yeah, do you have a specific question about Florida? Because I mean, we're a pretty gun friendly state. We call it the gunshine state for a reason. Um, but yeah, Florida's pretty open. We're permitless carry. You don't need a background or you don't need a permit to go purchase a firearm. So you could go purchase one tomorrow and conceal carry on you as long as you have a Florida driver's license. You're good to go. So that's literally like the gist of Florida. If you have a valid Florida driver's license and you're 21 years of age and you fit the criteria to get a concealed carry license in Florida, you can conceal carry. Granted, when you're in the car, you got to keep it off of your person. We got some nuances when it comes to our defense laws, which I can just go back over right after I finish with Texas. But let's get into this Texas law because I was going to tell a story. When it comes to Texas, there was that situation we saw last summer where dude tried to pose as a maintenance worker, and then he didn't know that there were people inside because the owner was talking to him through the Ring camera. And eventually, the dude tried to break down the door, and he actually had a gun in his hand. That is aggravated robbery, because you have a weapon in your hand. It's aggravated. It's honestly, it's robbery with the deadly weapon, if I'm not mistaken, aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon or something along those lines. So in those situations, the guy shot through the door at the individuals. It's kind of sketchy to shoot through the door sometimes because you don't know where those bullets are going to land unless you just know you're going to be spot on and like you have the drop on them and the angle. But it was a justified use of self-defense for him shooting through the door because of what we just saw or what we just read. The person was committing or attempting to commit aggravated robbery in that situation. So deadly force is justified in discharging your firearm at that person in Texas. So shout out Texas for allowing a person to defend their home. A person who uses deadly force within a residence, business, dwelling, or vehicle is presumed to have had reasonable belief of immediate death or great bodily harm or serious bodily injury to himself, family, or a member of the household or person visiting as an invited guest when the force used against someone who unlawfully and forcefully entered the place. So textbook situation of what I just talked about. Dude tried to kick the door down, tried to forcefully enter, and the dude shot through the door, which was legally allowed based off of that reading right there. Literally textbook for him in that situation. So good deal for him. He didn't have to face any repercussions. Defense of third person. A person is justified in using force or deadly force against another to protect third person if, under the circumstances as the actor reasonably believes them to be, the actor would be justified in using force or deadly force to protect himself or herself against the unlawful force or unlawful deadly force he or she reasonably believes to be threatening the third person one seeking to protect. So if you reason believe that the force being enacted on the third person would be the force or deadly force being enacted on the third person, if used against you, you could justify using self-defense or deadly force against them. You can then protect third person if you could articulate how it would apply to you. You could then use that to apply to and protect somebody else in those situations. But like we said, don't get involved in other people's business if you don't have to, because it'd be a really bad day if you get beat up just because you wanted to try to be Mr. Super Save somebody and intervene in a domestic violence situation, and now you're all cut up and bloody because she loves him and he loves her. Protection of one's own property. A person in lawful possession of land or tangible, movable property is justified in using force against another when, to the degree that the actor reason believes that the force is immediately necessary to prevent or terminate the other person's trespass on land or unlawful interference with property. This is where it gets very different for Texas as opposed to every other state. A person is justified in using force and using deadly force against another to protect land or tangible, movable property. So tangible, movable property could be a car. It could be if you had something valuable that is outside. It's anything that's really movable. So that's a very distinctive. It's very distinct verbs that they're using in there. To prevent the other's immediate commission of arson, burglary, robbery, aggravated robbery, theft during the nighttime, or criminal mischief during the nighttime. That's the nuance of Texas. So everyone's like, oh, Texas, you can, shoot to protect your land. Really only at nighttime. So if somebody's trying to steal your car at night, or they're trying to move or interfere with tangible land or property at night, yeah, then you're more justified in using deadly force against them in that situation. But if it wasn't to be done at night, you're not justified in using that deadly force against them. So you gotta be reasonable in that sense in understanding if it's during the daytime, force would be more likely justified unless you can articulate how deadly force is needed. If not, during night, you don't have to resort to force. You can use deadly force. To keep going to prevent the other who is fleeing immediately after committing burglary, robbery, aggravated assault, aggravated burglary, robbery, aggravated robbery, or theft during the nighttime from escaping with the property. So again, if it's a car, if it's I mean it's property, so it could be really anything that is tangible or movable outside. If it is valuable, you can shoot to try to stop them from doing so. He or she needs to reasonably believe that the land or property cannot be protected or recovered by any other means. So if there is no other way to replace this property, or there's no other way to really get this out of their hands and replace it, you're justified in using deadly force to protect your property in Texas in that situation. Or the use of force other than deadly force to protect or recover the land or property would expose the actor or another to substantial risk or death or serious great bodily harm. So if there is no way for you to safely go hands on and get that property back without exposing yourself to serious death or great bodily injury, so like let's say it's your car, right? If there is no way for you to really drag that person out of your car, especially if they're starting to drive off with it, yeah, you can justify using deadly force in that situation because, like, if you were to hang out the window of the car and you were to fall out the car, you can easily have serious death or great bodily harm happen to you. Maybe not death, but great bodily harm, but death is still a possibility in that situation. So it wouldn't be smart for you to try to go and stand in front of the car, try to go jump through the window, or even try to honestly snatch that person out of the car in that situation. So in that case, yeah, you could use deadly force to protect movable property in that situation, it sounds like. Protection of third person's property. A person is justified in using force or deadly force against another person to protect land, tangible, movable property of a third person. If, under the circumstances as he or she reason believes them to be, the actor would be justified in using force or deadly force to protect his or her own land or property. So Texas pretty much just reciprocates everything to each other. If you could articulate that on third person's property, you would be justified in using this same level of force or deadly force to protect your own property. You could do it to protect somebody else's property inside of Texas, which is very different because in Florida, that is not allowed. In Florida, if you're at third person's property, you need to be able to articulate how life is in danger in that situation. So I always give the example like, and I might have stole this example from Kyle if he's still on here, but if I'm at your house watching Super Bowl, right? And your brother, you have an agreement with your brother that he just walks in through the window whenever he wants to. You just got an open window. He just comes in whenever he wants. If I just pull my gun out and I'm like, boom, 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 got him. It's like, that's not justified because I can articulate how my life was in danger. And I'm not really justified in protecting third person's property unless I can articulate how life's in danger in Florida state. We're just comparing the two between Florida and Texas right now. But let's say in Florida, same brother would have come in through the window with gun or knife in his hand. In that situation, I could articulate, yo, this dude came through the window with the gun or knife. That is not normal behavior. I thought I was in fear of him shooting, stabbing me, or like committing death or great bodily harm towards me. In that case, yeah, then I could engage the individual coming through the door because I can articulate how I thought my life was going to be in danger. But you can't in Texas, you could protect their property if you can articulate how you would reasonably use the same amount of force or deadly force to protect your own property, which is very different. I think next time we're going to do this at 7:30 because 10:30 is just a little late and I am also tired. No excuse. We're going to get through it, but this is just a lesson to be learned later on. If y'all are still in the chat, drop a time that you think would be best to go live. Is it 9 or is like 7:30 a better time? My gut is telling me 7:30 to like 9:30 is probably a better time to do it. I even looked that up. I just tried 9 just to see. But I know TikTok is kind of active at night a little bit more. Let's keep going, just going through the different Texas laws, and then we're going to end it. The carry basics. Yep, September 1st, anyone 20 years of age can legally possess a handgun, whether it's open carry or concealed in the state of Texas. They don't need a permit to do so. Permitless carry is legal for anyone 21 years of age or older. But again, at 18 years of age, you can open carry or conceal carry inside of Texas as well. You don't need that permit to do so. Minimum age to conceal carry. Again, like we just said, it's 18 years old as of January 10th, 2023. That is into effect now. Do other weapons besides handguns allowed? No, you are only allowed to conceal carry handguns inside of Texas. So, like, if we just contrast that to California, in California, you are allowed to carry revolvers or any other type of firearm that could be concealed. But in Texas, which has much 730, yeah, that's what I'm feeling. I feel like 730 is a much better time. But in the state of California, you can essentially conceal carry an AR pistol based off the way their law reads. In Texas, you're not allowed to conceal carry an AR pistol. You can only conceal carry a handgun, at least with the LTC. You're only allowed to conceal carry a handgun and no other weapon. So again, California just needs to get their act together because it does not make sense that you have so many conflicting laws in your state for people to be able to use their Second Amendment right. Taser stun guns, yeah, you can get those without a license. Chemical spray or pepper spray, yeah, there's no statute prohibiting you from purchasing those, and it doesn't look like there's a minimum age either. There are no magazine limits, so you can carry as many rounds as you want to. So if you want to throw a good old 21 rounder or 30 rounder in there, you're more than welcome. Ammo restrictions, no armor piercing rounds, which is fair. We don't need people shooting through police armor or shooting through security armor because I definitely do not want to buy more plates. And if my plates fail me, I'd be very pissed on that day. Permitless carry, yep, good old constitutional carry state. Let's go to the carry location: store inside of a vehicle in employee parking lot. A public or private employer may not prohibit an employee who holds a valid concealed carry license from transporting or storing a firearm or ammunition, and the employee is authorized by law to possess in a locked private conveyance, own motor vehicle, or a private parking area provided by the employees, except in locations prohibited by state and federal law. So typically when you're on government property, you don't want to bring that there. Carry in a vehicle, yes, without a license as of September 1st, 2021. However, it is an offense if it is in plain view, unless it is in a holster, which again, the golden rule, even in Florida, I always say, put it inside of a holster. That's a great way to not catch a case. I will literally tell a story right now of how my friend caught a case because he did not listen to that rule. And it was simply because he got pulled over. There was and I don't think he's on this live right now, but my friend was driving through the Rio Grande area and he got stopped by an undercover. They were pacing him. So I don't know. They were pacing him at a certain speed. So they said, all right, that's what you're doing. Just watched your New Jersey video. A few things I would add. Yeah, there was more I would add in there too, but I only get like 3 minutes to do it on TikTok and I don't want to do it on an outside app. So you only got a certain amount of time. By all means, make another video and add everything that I didn't add and just tag me in it. But you only got 3 minutes to make it all happen, bud. Back to the story. Friend was driving. I'd been telling him for months to get a holster to put his firearm in. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna get one. Didn't get one. And this day he moved his firearm from the center console to the back compartment, the little cubby behind the passenger seat. Now, if we're talking technicalities, securely encased does not define the cubby behind the passenger seat as being a securely encased place. As of the statute then, as of now, it really says you can carry it anywhere. But technically, if the firearm is in that cubby behind the seat, it is readily accessible because all you have to do is put your hand back there and bring it up and then you can use it. So he does that. Police pull him over. They use their flashlights. They're plain view searching the car. They see the color of the gun. They immediately know. They ask him, hey, do you mind stepping out the car? He was like, yeah, I'll step out. I don't mind. Like, I'm just going to go through the process. Then they asked him for consent to search the car, which is another topic. Do not give police consent to search the car. If a police officer asks me, can you search the car? The answer is no. If you're telling me you're going to search the car, go ahead and do it, but you better have probable cause because if not, this is getting thrown out in court and maybe a lawsuit coming for violation of my Fourth Amendment right to search and seizure. But in this case, he decided he was going to let the police search the car because he was like, hey, I'm just letting y'all do your job. Cool, whatever. The first place they went into that back passenger seat, saw that, and they charged him with third-degree felony possession of a concealed. He had to pay like $5,000 to the lawyer to get it beat. Granted, he did get it beat. The case was dismissed. He does not have anything on his record, but he was $5,000 in the hole simply because he didn't have the holster. If he would have had that holster, it would have immediately bypassed exactly everything that they were trying to get because the Florida Sheriff has a study. Inside of the holster is securely encased, and there's no argument against it because it makes it not readily accessible. If he would have had that, he could have avoided that situation, but because he didn't, he had to pay 5 bands just to get that case dismissed in court. So 8 times out of 10, it will get dismissed, but the process to do it is months. They're taking the firearm. You're probably not going to get it back if you don't petition them right away. And now you're out $5,000 to the defense lawyer. So you made somebody happy, but you're very much not happy. Moving along with Texas, just to get through it, carry at roadside stops. Yes, if you're 21 years of older, you can do that. But again, it pretty much applies to everybody in Texas that you can, as long as you're 18 years of older. State or national parks. Yes, without a license for anyone at least 21 years of older, who may lawfully possess a handgun in a national park. For links, state owned. Yeah, they don't have very much on that one. Bars or restaurants. Carry is prohibited in businesses that sell alcoholic beverage for on-premise consumption whose alcohol sales constitute more than 50% of gross receipts that displays red sign with 51% and large red letters. So, I mean, I guess that's the easy way to tell. If you have a 51% bar, you're not allowed to go in with your firearm. But if it's not a 51% bar, you are allowed to go inside with your firearm. In Texas, letters over warning that says possession of a concealed weapon on the premise is a felony. So yeah, if they're a 51% bar and you carry with your weapon inside of Texas, it's a felony charge against you. Carry, possessing hotels. September 1st, permanent hotel property is prohibited by state and federal law. Wow. So as of September 1st, 2021, unless possession of a handgun or other firearm or ammunition on hotel property is prohibited by state and federal law, a hotel may not adopt a policy prohibiting a hotel guest from carrying or storing a firearm or firearm ammunition in guest hotel room. Okay, so yeah. So hotels cannot prohibit you from carrying inside of their place. As of September 1st, 2021, you're allowed to carry inside of hotels and they are not allowed to stop you. Key state laws, your driver's license. If you get that LTC in Texas, it is connected to your driver's license. So when the police run your license, they will know that you have a concealed carry on you as well, or that you're at least licensed to carry in the state. Weapons or no weapons allowed signs are enforced. So if they have penal code 30.05, 30.06, 30.07, 4603, I always say, if you see a no gun signs allowed and it has numbers under it, respect it as law. Like, it is against the law to carry inside of that place. As soon as I see no guns allowed and I see Florida statute or whatever state statute under it or title code, you got me. Like, I just won't carry. You got me in this instance. Maybe I won't go in the building, but if I have to, I will, and just handle business for really that quick, and hopefully nothing happens. But yeah, when you see numbers and no guns allowed signs, respect it. Red flag laws are a negative inside of Texas. There are no red flag laws brandishing. There's no laws talking about brandishing, but we always go back to the menacing and improper exhibition, along with assault with a deadly weapon, in some cases, depending on how you pointed and oriented the muzzle of that firearm. So don't ever be the one that is the active aggressor in the situations. You always want to be the one on the back end that is essentially reacting, but just being prepared for what comes next. Non-residence permitting. Yes, you can get a non-residence permit from Texas. They will issue you one. Access to concealed carry registry. That's a no. There's no access to the concealed carry registry. You have a duty to inform law enforcement officers that you're carrying a concealed firearm in Texas. When officers demand that you display identification card, you must display both the driver's license or a ID card and your handgun license. So whenever they ask, you must give them both. In Florida, we don't go by that law in Florida. So in Florida, if an officer asks you, do you have a concealed weapon license? Like, yeah, I can answer you honestly, but when I get pulled over, there's no duty to inform you. I don't have to tell you, hey, I have a concealed carry gun right there, and here's my carry license and my driver's license. Like, that's just not a thing for us. In Texas, it is. So just small different nuances like that. Preemption is a thing, just meaning that different counties and different cities can add laws for their county in terms of where you can carry and where you cannot carry. So that is a thing inside of Texas. Carry while inebriated. Essentially, you cannot be drunk unless you're on your own property. So you can have a firearm and be drunk on your own property with in Texas, but you cannot be outside and be inebriated over 0.08. So if your blood alcohol level goes over 0.08, you're inebriated, and then you'd be in violation, because at that point you start to show signs of slurred speech, impaired judgment, and things like that. So if you do go out and you have a drink with your firearm at a bar that is not a 51% bar, be mindful. I say never have more than 3 drinks with your firearm on you. It's just not really worth it in that situation. Waiting period. There's no waiting period to purchase a handgun. There's no handgun registry. 18 years of old to possess. Yes, you can possess on private property. You can pretty much do whatever you want with your guns on private property. Also, suppressors are a legal thing in Texas. You can buy a suppressor in Texas and take it home. You don't have to register as an NFA item, which is a very large push forward for the 2A community to have that done, because there was huge restrictions on NFA items and a lot of loops to jump through in terms of tax stamps. But for Texas, you don't need them. and it's Texas only, and no, you cannot go to Texas, purchase, and then transfer across state lines. You might run into some issues with the ATF if you do such a thing, so be very mindful of that. Do it at your own risk. I highly discourage it. Permit to purchase is a no. Background checks for private gun sales is a no. And then if you have an LTC, you are exempt from background checks in Texas. So when you go to purchase, if you have that LTC, you do not have to submit to the background check. You are able to bypass it. Oh my God, excuse me. So those were all the major, I forgot it's the opposite way on here. Those are all the major Texas laws. You could have an entire book written on Duncan High, don't drink too much while carrying. Yeah, I agree with you. We should not be drinking a lot while carrying. It's just not a very smart thing to do. That's a federal offense, moving guns to states with strict laws. Yeah, it is a federal offense. Yeah, there's a great chance you'll get a trafficking charge. Granted, it does depend on the state and their laws in that moment, but in terms of like if we go back to 2020 with the Kennesaw kid who drove from like wherever he was driving, whatever home state he was, and then he drove over to Washington State, like you get into very sketchy laws of transporting and trafficking firearms in that situation. Granted, you probably won't be charged with trafficking if you don't have a lot and if there's no intent to sell, but to cross state lines with the firearm with the intent to go do something, or in this case, if you're going to Texas to buy a suppressor to then bring it back to your home state, you will be in trouble with the ATF for NFA laws, because in Florida, you still need a tax stamp in order to be in possession of a suppressor. So, and when you go to ranges, they are legally allowed to ask you for the paperwork. And if you cannot provide it, there's a great chance that gun range will report you to the ATF because they don't want anything to come back on them. It's just not worth it, because once you lose your license in this industry, like it's pretty much gone, and you're going to have to jump through all the hoops to try to get it back. What do you know about the fancy suppressors that doesn't have the last hole drilled in it? Those are called solvent traps, and again, those are illegal. If you drill, that is one of the most illegal. The simplest thing that will cost you a felony and potentially 10 years in jail is drilling a hole inside of that fancy thing that you're talking about. I almost don't even want to say it on live because I think they have like speech monitoring on this thing. Yeah, you're not allowed to drill that hole at all. And they are making stronger laws against it that, I mean, they can't necessarily stop selling solvent traps because they are used for a specific purpose in motor. Am I from New Jersey? God, no. I was born and raised in Florida, and I thank God for it, because New Jersey is terrible when it comes to gun laws. No, I'm nowhere near from New Jersey. I'm born in the South and might just stay in the South. But yeah, so to drill that hole is the biggest no-no. You live in Jersey. Well, do you like living in Jersey? Like, do you feel like it's a great state to live in terms of the laws and how things operate there? Because based off the laws I read, it's very sketchy, man. It's very, very sketchy. It's like if someone comes to your house, you're going to jail regardless to defend yourself. Well, I will say that for New Jersey, inside of the house, their castle doctrine does protect you in terms of defense in that situation. You do have a lot more leeway to defend yourself inside of the home. It's really outside of the home that Jersey, like, kind of screws you over. Example, like we were just saying, or like I was mentioning when I was talking about Jersey, if somebody's trying to rob you in Jersey and you have the opportunity to essentially give over the goods that they were trying to take, and you don't give them up and you try to defend yourself, it could be seen in a court of law that you had no right to protect yourself, because if you would have given up the material, the situation would have been over. But because you chose to use force or deadly force, let's say you used deadly force in the situation, you took their life, you could face repercussions for that, because if you would have turned over your stuff, that person would still be alive, and maybe they just get, a charge for it if they're caught. But if you take their life, you technically had no jurisdiction there. So I do like Jersey's castle doctrine, but I don't like they're not a standard ground state, but I don't like their laws in terms of protection outside of the home. They're more of a duty to retreat outside of the home more than in the home. Broke into his house, an adult, like 40. I don't quite know what that means. Oh, wait, let me read the one before it, maybe. That's new, bro. One time a kid was 16, a minor was home alone. This was like 5 years ago, and the guy broke into his house. I mean, like I said, if he's in the home and a guy broke into his house, I don't know how it read 5 years ago. So gun laws change so quick. I made a video on North Carolina on a Wednesday, and by Friday, the gun laws had changed. So 5 years ago may have been a sword, and the kid went to jail. He used a sword against him? That's not funny, but like, I've never heard of somebody actually using a sword to defend themselves. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of things started to change. So after last summer with the New York versus Bruin case, and a lot of states being forced to go shall issue and now no longer being may issue. And I can't remember if New Jersey was a may issue beforehand, but it didn't preface that in the information. A lot of things started to change across all the states. I mean, we see right now there are more and more states going permitless carry every single day. Like I said, I did a video on North Carolina on a Wednesday, and by Friday they were constitutional carry. And I was like, well, they weren't when I made the video, guys. Like, what do you want me to do here? He had a katana in his room and snuck up on. Yeah, I'll have to read. Do you know like exactly what it was called? I'm sure I could search the case law in like ChatGPT, but I would like to read the case law about that and see how the jury actually deliberated on it, because that's kind of wild that I mean, based off of their Castle Doctrine read, it seemed like let's just bounce over to New Jersey just so we don't have to theorize what we're talking about here. Specifically, their defense of premise, the use of deadly force. So, like the information I'm reading here says the use of deadly force in Jersey is not justified unless the actor reasonably believes that the person is attempting to dispose the actor from his or her dwelling. So, if somebody's trying to take you out of your dwelling, meaning kidnapping you essentially, the person is, or just drag you out of the house to try to beat you outside of the house, because people think that's a thing too. The person is attempting to commit or is committing arson, burglary, robbery, or other criminal theft or property destruction, except that deadly force. So deadly force is not justified. Deadly force does not become justified under this paragraph A and B, the subsection, unless the actor reasonably believes that the person against whom it is employed has employed or threatened deadly force against or in the presence of the actor. The use of force other than deadly force would expose the actor or others to, in his or her presence, to substantial danger of great bodily harm. Let's go to defensive dwelling. That might clarify this a little bit more, if I could get it right. Where did it go? That's defensive premise. Defensive dwelling. So the use of force or deadly force upon or towards an intruder who is unlawfully in a dwelling is justifiable when the actor reasonably believes that the force is immediately necessary for the purpose of protecting himself or herself or other persons in the dwelling against the use of unlawful force by the intruder. A reasonable belief exists when the actor, to protect himself or herself or third person, was in his or her own dwelling at the time of the offense or was privileged to be thereon, and the encounter between the actor and intruder was sudden, unexpected, compelling the actor to act instantly. So I guess in that case, that's kind of where the nuance comes in, because he snuck up on him. And like I said, that's why I don't like some of those states like that, because so based on how you just read it, if the guy grabbed the katana and snuck up on him and did it, it wasn't by surprise. So you weren't compelled to do it. It was more premeditated because you kind of thought about it more than just being surprised and acting off a whim, essentially. And so that might be why he ended up getting charged, because based off how that reads, I could see how a jury could find him guilty of not being within his rights to protect his home, because he had the time to actually sneak up on the guy and it wasn't just an immediate gut reaction that happened. Like the situation in Texas where the guy was trying to break in, or any of the other videos we saw where people break in and then just immediately they discharge back. So because it doesn't sound like that, I guess that's why he was potentially charged or was charged. We have no self-defense laws. I want to give good money for good training, but how do I know I'm not getting Stephen? I mean, you kind of don't know. I guess the best way, like if you're going to pay for training, we'll go to the instructor's page. Hopefully that instructor has content of them performing whatever tasks they ask people to do. I always put the videos of me training people. Like the videos you see is pretty much exactly what you're going to go through. The difference is I'm looking at you every single step of the way to make the minute, small changes to help you. Thank you. I try to be as very informative as I can, because more people need to be educated, and I've been told I can say information pretty good. So thank you. Yeah, go ahead, drop me a DM if anybody wants to get in contact, or there's a question that you can't ask me on live that you want to ask me in the DMs. Go ahead, ask me in the DMs. What ammo can you carry in New Jersey? I think an easier question may be what ammo can you not carry? So sorry. Every time I look and read the statute, sorry, I've been talking a lot. Every time I read what kind of ammunition you can't carry in Jersey, I immediately want to throw up because they prohibit the carry of hollow point bullets and armor piercing rounds. So let me see what that question was. What ammo can you carry in New Jersey? So for the most part, it sounds like you have to carry full metal jackets. You're not allowed to carry hollow points or armor piercing ammunition is prohibited. However, since sportsmen may use hollow point ammunition, there are exceptions for keeping it at a person's dwelling or land owned or possessed by a person, and from carrying such ammunitions from the places of purchase to said dwelling or land hunting. So it's the stupidest thing I've literally ever heard. It just breeds ground for collateral liability to happen. If you shoot a full metal jacket at someone, and I got to be careful saying that word too. If you discharge a full metal at somebody, it's going straight through them and is hitting something on the back end until physics does its job and slows that bullet down. And it just doesn't make sense that a state would say only use, and I guess they can try to make the argument because in war it's illegal to use hollow point bullets because in war the point isn't to kill, it's more to hurt. Because if I wound one guy, it's typically going to take around 2 guys to pull him off the field. So that's essentially 3 people off the battlefield. Whether if he's just dead, like they're just going to leave him there and then they're just going to keep on the attack. But in a civilian CQB space or urban environment like we all live in America, it does not make sense that you can't carry hollow point bullets, because if that bullet goes through and it hits mother, daughter, grandmother, somebody on the other end, New Jersey doesn't offer you civil or criminal liability from that for that accident happening. So they're almost setting you up for failure in a way, which is again why I don't like the New Jersey state. So full metal jackets, whatever you shoot at the range, typically like that kind of stuff, but it's like I deeply disagree with that. I deeply disagree with that. It doesn't make sense. It's the perfect way to have somebody extra hurt that doesn't need to be hurt. And it doesn't make sense because obviously like we go through the arguments all the time, criminals don't really care about the rules, yada yada yada. And it's true. Like they don't. That's why they go to jail, because they don't care about the law. So for a criminal to enact something against you, you'd have justifiable self-defense and discharge, but that bullet goes through them and hits a little girl on the backside or a little boy, grandmother, whoever. Doesn't make sense when there is something that will do the opposite and physics will stop it. That way we don't have that issue. You are welcome, my man. I'm sorry that if you live in that state, I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. I'll take a couple more questions if anybody has them, but we are going to sign off pretty soon because talking for an hour and a half is a lot. And this is, like I said, the 3rd live I've done today. So any last minute questions before we get out of here for the night and sign off? Thank you to everybody who's tuned in for the chats, everybody on Instagram. If there are people on Twitch, where there probably aren't, everybody on YouTube. I think there was like 1 person, which I'll take, and all the people that joined in on TikTok, all 3 of you that are still remaining. I mess with y'all deeply. Go ahead and shoot me a DM and I'll follow you back right now, or as soon as I log off, obviously. Yeah. Any last minute questions from anybody? No? Cool. I will be back on live tomorrow. We'll go through some other states. Maybe we'll do somewhere in the Midwest. Maybe we'll keep it in the South. Actually, I think we'll keep it in the South so I don't have to deal with as much of this ignorance in lawmaking. With concealed carry permits, what restrictions do we have? That depends on the state. Yeah, so that question kind of really depends on the state. So if you're from Florida and you're traveling to Tennessee and you have a concealed carry license in New Jersey, so what restrictions do you have with the concealed carry license in New Jersey specifically? Okay. You don't have as many restrictions. Like with the permit, you're allowed to carry inside of your car. Obviously, you're allowed to carry on your person. Yeah, there aren't too many restrictions. Like in New Jersey, having the concealed carry license is honestly the only way you can really stay within side of the law and have a gun. So there aren't a lot of restrictions besides the fact that there's magazine limits. There are places that you still cannot go. School is federal property, so that doesn't really matter whether you have the license or not. Um, I mean, you're restricted in the ammo you could buy, so it's not even a matter of like what you're restricted in terms of with the license. It's just you're restricted in the state period from a lot of things that you wouldn't be restricted in many southern states and Texas and others. You know, even a lot of the Midwest states are way more open than New Jersey. So yeah, the license just it's their process to basically track who has a gun in the state, and you're just limited all around. Like their laws aren't very open for you to do a lot with anything really. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. Jersey, yeah, we'll do some more. We'll probably hit on Georgia. We'll definitely hit Georgia tomorrow. We'll go through the Carolinas and maybe we'll touch on the DMV tomorrow. We'll do the first lab at like 12. We'll go 12 to 3 tomorrow, or 12 to like 2. And then we're gonna hop back on at like 7:30 to 9. We'll probably do the next one. And follow me. So I'm gonna make a notification when the live is gonna happen. I'm gonna do that as soon as I get off, so you'll be able to be notified. If you need to turn on the little ring notifications, if that's a thing, go ahead and do that. Can't carry bars, schools, banks, sporting events, police stations. Yeah, so a lot of those places, like those are just kind of common areas. And again, I think the easiest way to tell a lot of those places, they're gonna have signs that pretty much say you cannot carry in these places. Like for us, we have the it used to be called the Amway Center, but now it's the Kia Center. There's a sign on the door that says you cannot bring a firearm in, and they quote statute. For Camping World, yeah, Camping World can't bring firearms in. They have metal detectors. Police stations, that's the police stations are kind of like easiest place to go. Like if you walk into a police station with a firearm, I mean, usually it's a no, but if you do, be prepared for whatever repercussions that come at you because they're probably going to come at you. Um, Granted, we have seen people walk into police stations and just start shooting. That is also a very wild thing that I guess happens in some states. But yeah, tomorrow we're going to be on 12 to 2, and then 7:30 till 9. We're going to be back on going through these state laws. So think of questions, turn on your post notifications, drop a follow so I can get to 10,000, so I can get the TikTok creator, live creator thingy, so I can do more with the lives on TikTok because I'm kind of limited since the phone is up there and I'm down here like this. So I appreciate all of you deeply for watching. It really does mean the most. And I will see y'all in the morning tomorrow. And and